We'll start off here. So hello, everyone. My name is Irvin Hayes Jr. I am a senior product manager here at Autodesk and working on the Vault product line. It's always a pleasure to come to the KETIV Virtual Academy every year to talk about what's new with the Vault product line. So I appreciate the KETIV team inviting me to do this every year. It's always a pleasure being here. And thank you all for joining. So let's jump into the meat of things. And of course, if you have any questions, use the Q&A area of the Zoom chat, and then we will answer those towards the end of the meeting, if not during, as I go through some of these features. So every year we talk about Vault and enforcing some of the standards and things of that nature, but we also do it on 3 different personas when we talk about features or we develop and implement features throughout the year. The first one is the authors. So we want the authors to remain focused on their work. So we've done some things to help them continue onto this theme, try and stay within the CAD products, and then work closely with that within that CAD product without having to jump back and forth between the CAD product and Vault. For administrators, of course, administrators always want to do more things from an administrative level. So we've added some features to help the administrators out again this year. And then we have our participants, those who are just collaborating or just doing some workflows, not particularly designers, but maybe those are on the thin client and so on. And we do some features there as well. So we're going to jump into each of these personas throughout the presentation and talk about what we've done for each of these personas, and of course, ask any questions that that I may not answer or that you need answered, and we'll get to those. So let's first talk about the authors. So in the past, we've done a lot of things such as exporting DWF files and now PDF files. So we went a step further and we've done some things that our users, you all, have asked for, and now you can export DXF and step file formats. So with that export, you can export them on demand, just like you can do a PDF. You can publish those on state transitions. You can sync the lifecycle state and revisions of those with the parent file. You can also get some of the information as far as classifications, just like PDFs for the DXF and STEP. And then you can publish those out to an external folder, again, similar to the options that you see for DWF and PDF publishing. And of course, in there, it comes with a lot of configurations for each of those file formats. So there's plenty of instructions in our help to tell you how to use each of these options. They're pretty similar to using it or exporting from the CAD product. And we've just put them all inside of Vault in the same location as where you'd actually turn this feature on. Copy design, we continue to enhance copy design. The more things that you all bring to us in our ideas board, the more we try and look at trying to implement these types of things. So one of the things that we've done with copy design based on your feedback is we try and give you more information about copies that cannot be executed. And also, if you're working with larger assemblies, it makes it very hard for you to see what the restrictions are or the reasons for the restrictions in those dialogues. So what we're doing here is we're trying to make you more efficient when using the copy design process by doing some pre-checks. So if we know certain files cannot be copied for whatever reason, maybe you're creating a duplicate file name, maybe a file already exists in the destination location, and things of that nature, we're trying to pre-warn you, hey, we can't execute this, and here are the reasons why. So during that, we're going to show you which files have an issue by highlighting them out in red. We're going to give you a restrictions dialog. This restrictions dialog could be extremely large. So we're giving you the option to export that information out to a file or to an Excel file, for example, so that you can see all of the warning messages and you can resolve them file by file. Because this dialog, you can't do anything in copy design when this dialog is up. So you can export out this warnings dialog so that you can work on the issues and then go back and resolve them before you try and execute it again. We also added some features such as being able to copy and paste from Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes you may be wanting to rename a whole bunch of files all at once. Maybe you want to do them sequential and you're not using your the file numbering scheme or what have you. There are various different reasons why you might want to do that. You can export it out to Excel, make your changes in Excel real quickly, and then put them back into the copy design dialog, and then execute your copy design. from there. So those are some of the enhancements that we've done. Another one, copy design, is about BOMs. So with the BOMs, what happens in the old copy design or previous versions is that we only give you one option to remove the BOM object. And what that means for users who are using items, it means that once the copy is complete, the newly copied file cannot be assigned to an item because it has no BOM information. It was very relevant for assemblies because now the assemblies need to be reopened so that it is pointing to the correct subcomponents, and then the BOM information is updated at that point. So we don't want you to assign an item to an assembly which has not been updated yet by Inventor. However, what we've discovered from some feedback is the parts don't need this information, or it doesn't need to be removed. The BOM information doesn't need to be removed from those children or those part files. So we've added an additional option that says remove the BOM objects from parents only, meaning the assemblies. Therefore, if you need that newly copied part to be assigned to an item immediately, it can, because we're not removing the BOM information. We're actually updating that BOM information in that part, and then you can go straight ahead and assign it to an item right away. You still will need to update your assemblies though before moving forward with item assignment. So we try to ease this workflow, again, based off of user feedback. Copy folder structure is another one. So this is all about copying various different things. So we have heard a lot of feedback from this for a long time. And so we're starting a little bit light on this one. And we believe that we have exactly what you're asking for from the feedback we've been given. Basically, if you're one of those users or a company which all of your folder structures are pretty much the same under each project, you may want to just recreate that very easily. It may even come with properties, it may come with permissions, so on and so forth. But you'd have to, in the past, create them manually. Now what you can do is have a template folder structure or an existing folder structure underneath a project. You can copy that entire folder structure into a new folder structure, mimicking it. You can also then copy the subfolders that are underneath it. You can copy the permissions, you can copy the properties as well. So you have a great starting place with a new folder structure. We do not copy files in the folder structure. So if you're putting template files within those, we're not doing that. You could do that from copy design if you wanted to, although the folder structure itself is not, you won't be copying the properties and permissions, but this is strictly on the folder structure so that you can start fresh in a new project with the folder structure already that's predefined. For administrators and enforcing some standards, this is one that's been a long time coming and a long time ask. And people have been doing this manually themselves. We've found a lot of administrators have already been managing their Inventor design data and templates inside of Vault. You may have been using an old free utility called Project Thunderdome to distribute it. And it comes with a lot of hiccups and a lot of issues there. But what we've done with this now is we have integrated this better so that you can now manage your Inventor design data and templates right inside of Vault. You can then map them as part of your Inventor project so that Inventor knows where to get the design data and templates, and then it automatically downloads for each of your users as they log into Vault through Inventor. So if you're new to Vault and you're doing this, obviously your users are not using the design data and templates that you want them to use. So again, you as an administrator, you're creating all of these, you're checking them into Vault, you're making the modifications as you need to the templates. All it has to happen on the user side is they log out of Vault and inside of Inventor and log back in. Inventor will react, or the Vault add-in inside of Inventor will react and find out, are there any updates to the templates and the design data that's mapped in this project? If there are, it will download them. And it will download only the updates. We did find just recently that the description in the dialog is a little misleading. It's always saying downloading, but it's actually not. It's actually looking at each of the files individually, verifying that it has the latest version. And if it doesn't, it will download the latest version so that your users are always up to date with the latest templates and design data, and you as an administrator don't have to send an email saying, hey, go and get the latest versions because I've updated XYZ in the design data information. We also know that there is one thing about unique file names that we're going to be working on that kind of makes us a little bit not as smooth or efficient that it should be, but we're going to fix that with the enforce unique file names. So you can keep those turned on, but ignore these particular folders. Peer review. This is one that's normally called 4eyes check. And it's also it's used a lot in the industry when you want, as an administrator, someone else to approve a model or a set of files or what have you before it goes into the release state. We've made this option very flexible based on the transition in itself. So what we're showing you here in this particular dialog, the transition is from work in progress to release. And what we're looking at is inventor files. We call this particular peer review for inventor files. And we're only going to look at extensions with IPT and IAM in them. And of course, you can add more criteria. This builder is pretty similar to any other rule builder that we have, such as category assignments. As an example, you can create the rules as you see fit, because you may have a lifecycle definition that's used by multiple file formats. Some of those file formats you want to go through the peer review, others you do not. So it must match the criteria that you've put into the rule builder before we request a peer review. So again, how this works is, if I took a file and I put it into the work in progress state, and then I'm ready to release, normally what you'd have is a in review state in between here. So let's say I put it into the in review state. What it does now is it prevents me from moving it from in review to the release cycle. Someone else must do that. So I cannot, because of the peer review settings. So this is very flexible again. You can use it in multiple different ways, but have a look at it, make sure you can use it, and then give us feedback if there are some other options that you want to see on it. Thin client admin settings, we continue to make sure that this is as flexible as possible as well. So now the user or the administrator can set all of the default columns that they want the thin clients users to use or see, because you want to put the most important data first inside the thin client so that the users are able to find what they need to find. Now, what this also does is it allows the user to add columns if the administrator so chooses to allow them to do that. And this is by an enforce admin default property header setting. So as the admin, I can say you can only get these particular properties shown in the thin client, or I can say you start with these properties, but you can add more columns as you see fit. If, as the user has messed up, maybe they added or removed columns that they are unsure if it's the default ones or not, they can go back into the settings and they can hit the restore from default, and then they will get the admin settings all over again. So it's a way for the user to recover without having to bug the administrator to reset it for them. So this is all flexible, a little bit more extensive than what we had in the past in the older thin clients. Backup and restore. So backup and restore for large Vault environments, and large is really a relative term. It's based on the amount of space that you consider large. We have customers with 17 terabytes of file store. They even have possibly 1 or 2 terabytes of databases, depending on their environment and what they do. But what we found is the current out-of-the-box or the old out-of-the-box backup and restore routines couldn't handle it. And what I mean by that is that it would just take an extremely long time to perform a backup, moving that data back and forth between locations. So we added some flexibility in here to help our larger customers or our large environments to deal with such large data sets. So with this flexibility, now you can actually back up databases only. So in the example, as you see in the image, let's say this vault had a standard vault. Maybe it's my production vault. It's what we use every day. I have a QA vault just for messing around and testing. Then I have a development vault where we can do our own customizations and mess around in. But those two vaults are not necessary. They're not part of my disaster recovery routine or process. So I may go in and say, hey, only back up to production vault. If we have to recover, that's the only one that's important to me. So it then eliminates the storage requirements for the development in the QA vault. Other options is you can back up not only selective vaults, but you can select backup selective libraries, because you may have the same thing, right? You may have a library, a customized library that you don't want to back up all the time because you're just messing around with it. So it's not important. Let's exclude that from our from our regular backup routines. You can also not back up the file store. Now, I don't want this to get too confusing here, so I'm going to try and explain it in a manner, hopefully that it's clear for everyone. You're using ADMS Console to do a backup. You've selected to back up the databases only. However, you will be using your third-party backup routines or a software that your IT department is already familiar with because they're backing up shares that are on their servers anyway. The key thing here is that you're not requiring another storage location. Use the same backup routines that you use on a daily basis to back up any type of file shares. Just apply it to the file store. Some of the requirements are still there as we've had in the past when we talked about backing up from third-party applications. Keep your backups in sync. You want to back up the databases in the file store pretty close to around the same time so that when you restore, you know you have a full, complete restore. So this gives you some confidence that the backup is happening from the ADMS console on a regular basis as far as the databases are concerned, and then you're backing up using your current file backup software from IT. You still then run the old file store validate routine so that you can also make sure that the files that are in the file store are correct, they're not corrupt, there's none missing and things of that nature. But again, this tries to give you the option to back up faster instead of backing up in multiple hours or sometimes multiple days because of a large environment. Now, the other part of this is that it also helps you during a restore. So if you're restoring and you're restoring a large amount of data, it takes a long time, just as much as it takes to back up. So the flexibility is there during the restore. So if you've only backed up the databases, you can restore those databases and point to the file store location and use that existing file store, not having to move or restore the file store if you think that it's already intact the way it should be. You can also then only restore what's necessary because, of course, your backup in this example only is backed up the vault. The other QA and the development databases or vaults are not restored because it's only restoring what's in the backup itself. This also helps with some migrations because we've done some other things inside of the ADMS console it's not shown here. And basically what that means is that when you're doing a restore, you're actually migrating from, let's say you're migrating from Vault 2024 to 2025. And what you're doing is restoring the databases. That restores pretty quick. And then maybe you're pointing to an existing file store so you don't have to move those around. So your migration from one version of Vault to the next version of Vault has decreased in the amount of time that it normally would have taken if you had to restore the file store as well. It may require some additional backups. Maybe you most likely will need a remote file store, so a server set up specifically for the file store itself. That way you can point to that existing file store, ignore the validation because maybe it just takes a long time, but you've been validating all along. So you're pretty confident your file store is intact, and then you're migrated to the next release, again, hopefully in hours and not in days in some instances, depending on your environment. I'm going to write up, there's a couple other features that I'm not mentioning here that's in the ADMS console. So what I plan on doing pretty soon is I'm going to write up an entire document on how to use the various different features and the scenarios around them so that you can better understand what might fit your needs when it comes to backup and restore your environment. With that, let's move over to the participants. With the participants, again, thin client enhancements. This is the one that's been asked for. We had it in the old thin client. We didn't put it in the new release of the thin client at first, but you all came back to us and said, hey, we want to be able to select our vault during login instead of having to do it after or post login or from the URL itself. So we put this back as a drop down in the login screen of the thin client, again, based on your feedback. We've done some other enhancements to improve the interactions with the thin client interface, so you have better control over expanding and collapsing some of the object structures. Again, this is all based on your feedback. We didn't have it there before. We just continue to progressively try and make the thin client better. So those options are now there. Search enhancements. Of course, we've added the advanced search into the thin client. That was not there for a while. And now what we've done also is the fact that not only can you search it, but you do an advanced search, but you can also save that as a bookmark. If you ever go back to that bookmark and it takes you right back to the advanced search, you can then modify it or tweak it and re-bookmark it based on your needs. So it's sort of a saved search within your web browser itself. You can search the individual workspaces or multiple workspaces as you can do in the past. You can search for the current version or the latest version only as well. So we've added these things back into the thin client and then those enhancements. Inventor read-only and the Vault add-in. So we've worked with the Inventor team, and this is something that also that it came back from all of you as customers and users as feedback, is that you're inside Inventor read-only. What you had to do in the past, you had to go back over to the client, the Vault client, grab a file, say open in Inventor read-only, and then it'll take you back to Inventor read-only. So with this release, what we've done with the Inventor team's help is that we have added the ability to run the Vault add-in inside of Inventor read-only, so you can stay within Inventor read-only and open the files that you need. It still requires a Vault Professional license. It is not free, but Inventor read-only, again, is allowing the Vault to interact right within the Inventor read-only from the ribbon. There's one more. I'm still is from the Inventor team, but I'm pretty sure they probably will mention it as well, or you might see it in there. What's new is that you can use Vault commands inside of Inventor using iLogic. I believe they have a whole entire document on what can be done via iLogic with Vault. So that's new to 2024 on the Inventor side. So look for that from the Inventor team. With that, I want to make sure that you make your voices heard. We have the Vault Ideas Board. This is very important for you to know and to participate in. A lot of our ideas or things that we implement comes from you, the customer, the user. We try and implement as many things as we can. It is not a promise that we're going to implement it, but we want to hear from you. So please, if you're working through something and you think, hey, if you did this or solve this problem, this would be even much better for you in the long run or for others as well. This is how we get what we want to do in future releases. Our Vault Forum, it is for our community to work with each other. Some questions I can't answer. For example, some of you are asking, well, what do you guys do in this situation? So you're asking another user in a day-to-day of the CAD product in Vault, and you want to know opinions. So our community helps each other in our Vault Forum. So we like to make sure that you participate in that. Our feedback community. So this is also very important. We start to work on new features and we want to interact with you before we actually start the development process. This is very key to making sure that we're successful in implementing a feature that actually solves the problem for you. If not, we can guess, and sometimes we can guess correctly, sometimes we can guess wrong, or we might overdevelop a feature. So this is where it's key for us to get information from you and for you to drive the feature itself. So join our feedback community, look for webinars such as this one, where we talk to you, the individuals, about a feature. We'll start way early on the concept, what problems we think we need to solve, and you can tell us, well, yeah, if you did this or you're missing this, and so on and so forth. Again, that way, at least the first version of that feature comes out. fixing or solving a lot of problems as we then progress in future phases of that particular feature. Our Vault customization form, last but not least, if you are a developer and like to use the Vault API along with the CAT Products API, the Vault customization form is a place that you should be in and be involved in. A lot of the developers, pretty much all the developers are in that particular form answering each other's questions on how to use particular APIs. So make sure you're in there as well. So with that, we've actually come to at least the end of what's new for 2024, but let's open the door for some Q&A.
Yeah, I'll start off the first question. When using Vault and Inventor at an organization, is it just recommended that the versions match, or is it a hard requirement? For context, can an organization have 2024 Vault and 2023 Inventor? I can answer that. I think that they should both be on the same version, but Irvin, you're the expert. I'll let you.
Okay, so I agree with Phil. I think when you're working between versions, some things are not quite there, and some things may have changed. But what we try and do from the Vault side is that we allow 2 versions of the product back to communicate to the latest version of Vault. So 2024, we will allow a 2023 and a 2022 client to communicate to it. However, what we do say, we strictly say in the help is, 1, anything that's in the Vault settings or the global settings must be done from a Vault 2024 client. Don't do it from a 2023 client, because we make changes from the administrative side or any of those settings, and they won't work in an older client. Also, the challenge with that is new features, right? For example, peer review. We put peer review in 2024, but a 2023 client, a 2022 client won't know what to do with it. It may come back with a restriction, and it may not be understandable in the old clients. So that's where it becomes tricky. So if you do have to do that, try and do it for a short-term period, right? Upgrade, Vault server, month 1, and maybe 2 or 3 months down the road, upgrade all your CAD products to the latest version. Try and stay close is the recommendation, but if you have to stay that way longer, the biggest recommendation I would have for you is when you're in the CAD product, of course, in Inventor, in this example, Inventor 2023, go ahead and do everything that you need to do to check in and check out using the add-in. But when you're actually working within a client, use the 2024 client. That way, all of the features are there, and any messaging is also correct as it applies to new features in the 2024 server.
The next question I could probably answer, does Vault Professional, well, Jason already answered it. No, you can't restore a single file yet. You don't have that ability.
No, that's correct. That's been asked for a long time. It's very tricky to do that, which is why we haven't tackled it at this point. I'm not sure if we will do that though. So, yeah.
But the way you guys have set up the backups and stuff now is fabulous. I don't think people understand how much that will cut the time to back up, do restores, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things, right? I saw a video, a YouTube video recently on the 2024. A gentleman did a video who knows Vault very well. He didn't understand why we did certain features in the backup and restore in the scenarios, which is why I'm going to create that document that tells you, all right, here's the feature. And then here's how you use it. Here's the scenarios you use it in. And I think then hopefully every administrator that has to work from that end will understand why we did certain things in there.
Yeah, it's fabulous. But we've been doing things like that for a long time, just not telling people.
Yep.
Any enhancement when copy design of weldments, structure assembly using skeletons? It was very difficult in 2020 version.
We have not made any enhancements in there. If it is still difficult, I would say in 2020, even if it's still difficult in 2023, please create an idea boards post. Tell us what's difficult about using weldments in copy design, and we can see what we can do to help that out, of course. So, but we haven't made any specific enhancements around weldments with copy design.
Okay. When D&D and template folders are in Vault and mapped, is there a way to prevent Inventor from getting the entire D&D folder over 1,200 files every time you log into Vault, whether it's just checking or downloading? The process takes 20 to 30 seconds. That repeats every time a user starts Inventor.
Yes. Okay. So I did mention that during that slide. So first off, the dialog box says it's downloading, but it's actually not downloading. What it is doing is it's checking each file to verify that the file that's in that, let's say in the design data folder, is the latest version. What we found via your feedback, some users actually created a support case, and I had the development team take a look, saying, "Hey, why is it taking longer in this scenario versus?" I think what they did was they compared it to doing a git on a folder, and that folder structure took like 7 seconds to download, whereas I think this has taken almost 2 minutes. So we looked at that, and when I say we looked at that just recently. I'm going to say within the last week or so. We're going to do some enhancements to resolve the speed of it. So please look forward to that soon, so that you don't have that hit every time you log into Inventor. But rest assured that it is not actually downloading the entire folder, but it is checking every file in the folder. So hopefully we can speed that up for you real soon.
Can the administrator also set default column layouts to the thin client?
Yes, in the thin client, that's actually what the administrator is doing in that particular area. Let me see if I can go back to the slide for a second.
The questions that the client, the Vault client.
Oh, the Vault client? No, not for the Vault client. We have not done that at this point. However, join our feedback community because it might be something that we're working on soon. So you want to provide feedback on that. Join the feedback community.
I think I could answer this next one. We will be upgrading from 2021 to 2024. Will we see any of these backup and restore improvements in this process, or will it only when we get to only when you get to 2024 will you see the backup improvements?
Yeah. What you will see, so from 2021, because I think we did this in 2022, is the validation command or step should already be faster. So you should see that optimization, but the rest of it you won't see until you actually start backing up from 2024 and then moving forward.
Next one, the design data and template management automatically updates. Can that apply to other folders as well? For example, folders meant for global iLogic rules.
No. So our attempt here was just to handle the design data in the templates folder, not other folders. That might be a good idea, Station Post. Maybe we can include that because I'm not sure. I'm not deep into using iLogic inside of Inventor, but if that's in a designated folder, might be something we can do in the future in the same manner, but it does not address iLogic rules in those folders.
Next one, can you get folder structure to a local drive without the folders being populated by files?
Very good question. Another one that someone's asked for. I'm going to say look for that in the future. As of today, you can't, but look for that in the future. We'll most likely solve that for you.
What I find is if you right mouse click and do go to folder, it'll make that first folder, but not the rest of them.
Yeah,
So
it won't make the entire folder structure. Or you can go, what you can do is go deep down into the folder structure. It'll make from that structure up. But yeah, it won't create the entire structure for you. But that has been something asked for as a when we did the folder structure, and this is an example of being in the feedback community, when we did the copy folder structure command, someone did tell us, hey, it'd be great, why can't we just get this entire folder structure so we can pre-make it? We ran out of time by the time we were going to do by the time we were going to release 2024, but we put that in as a priority. You might see it in a future 2024 update. Might. No promises.
Can you change the starting page picture?
Change the starting page. Are we talking about
Probably the splash screen.
Yeah. So are we talking, if we're talking the splash screen when you first turn on Vault, no, you can't change that one. If you're talking about I'm assuming you're talking about that because they said page picture, but if you're talking about the Vault client's landing page, you can change that, but not that splash logo that comes up as soon as you start Vault client.
And then can you put your company logo on the thin client page?
You used to be able to do that. I don't think we put that in there yet. In the old thin client, you could. The new thin client, I'm going to say no, you cannot. I don't think we put that ability into that one. We make sure that's on our ideas board. It might already be there, but I'm pretty sure we have not implemented that to the new thin client.
And last question I have: after mapping templates and design folders, does changing the project file in Inventor always trigger a full get or both of the templates in the design data folders?
It does a full check, not a get. And yeah, we talked about that earlier, right? It will check them only on login. After that, as long as you're logged in, let's say throughout the entire day, it won't check that anymore. It only checks it that one time during login, and we will optimize that. But it will do. I'm sorry, to make sure I answer this. It will do both folders. There is no option to do one folder versus the other.
And that was the last question, Irvin. Don't have any more.
Awesome. Well, I can say then this, which I don't have a slide for, but I'll tell you this. AU is coming up, so hopefully everyone is getting prepared for that. We're back in Vegas this year, so I hope to see a lot of you there. We will be introducing these features and probably some new features by then, because we'll have a couple of updates. So make sure you come to AU, and if you have further questions and or comments, suggestions, I'll be there, and my entire, not my entire team, but several of my team members will be there, and we'll be very much open to having a conversation with you all about anything Vault related. Absolutely. So with that, I will say, Phil, thank you very much for inviting me again this year. I appreciate yours and KETIV's effort to make sure our community is up to date on the latest versions of everything. These are always great, having these virtual academies with you all.
Thank you, Irvin. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. I think there was, what was the last question, or was there a poll at the end that you guys were going to do?
She's going to send it out.
Oh, okay. All right. Fantastic.
And the last question was just thanking you.
Oh, hey, I appreciate that. Again, I'm in the forums all the time. Brian and others, I appreciate it. But I'm in the forums all the time. Ask a question. You'll see me in there all the time, answering as much as I can. And again, I can't. I'm gonna say this again. I can't express this more. Be in our feedback community. We want to develop features for you, not for us. You know, there are certain things that obviously we have to do for us, for Autodesk, but the product is for you. And your efficiency in your day-to-day job. So it is very important that if you're not in the feedback community, please join the feedback community today, and then join those conversations, because we have them throughout the year about new features. So,
thanks, everyone. Thanks, Irvin.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Great afternoon.
All right, have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.